So there's some things that I think I can help you with when it comes to Nitro RC cars. I've just got this car put together after I bought it without any radio gear or servos, and I reckon I can give you some advice and some help regarding radio gear and servos. Hello you lot, by the way. I'm Orinoco, and I'm going to try my best to help you understand Nitro RC so that you can enjoy it. Or maybe you haven't actually got a Nitro RC car, but you're thinking about getting one. Or maybe you've come across this video and you don't even know what Nitro RC is. You can have a look to see what I'm going to show you. It might tickle your fancy. You never know, dear. You never know. I get questions all the time. Email questions, Instagram private messages, you know, people asking me questions about this and that. And quite a lot of the time, the resolutions, you know, the answers are simple. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying that the people that ask the questions are stupid. Not at all. Because if you don't know, you don't know. And all I'm going to say is sometimes it just takes a little bit of an insight from somebody who does know, or just somebody who doesn't know but they're throwing things out there. Could it be this? Could it be that? And it makes you see, of course it's that. So let's have a look through at some of the things that can be not quite right and cause a bit of an issue. So I'm going to use this truggy as the example truggy. I've recently just put this together. I've just put new servos in it, brand new radio gear. There's a bit of oil on there, look, because I had it running the other day. So we'll use this one as an example. Let me turn it round. Right, so sometimes I may use a video from a subscriber that asked me a question, because I think it'll make it easy to explain. But sometimes your servos can do weird and wonderful things. You know, you might do full throttle. Let's turn on the radio gear. So you might, you know, play around with the throttle like that, and it might get stuck open even though you've let go of the trigger. It might still be open, or it might be twitching. It might be doing funny things, you know. It might be really slow. Now, most of the time, that's due to the batteries being, well, too low. You know, there's not enough electricity left inside the batteries. Now, most, not all, there are some exceptions. Some Nitro cars come with a different battery, which I'll show you in a moment. And some of them come with no batteries or no battery holder. They're the more professional ones, they're the more advanced ones, so you know, you'll have to see what you've got. But most Nitro cars, when you buy them brand new, they'll come with a little battery holder like this, and the idea is that you put 4 AA batteries in there, 1.5 volts each, to make up about 6 volts. Now this is fine, totally fine. What I'd recommend is you get a cable tie, and you put a cable tie around there, yeah, around this little thing, around there. Put a cable tie around it to hold the batteries in place. Little bit of a side note, that's because if all the vibrations and that, one of these batteries, it only takes one battery to come slightly dislodged, it will lose connection, and then you'll have no electrics, you'll have no radio, it could stay wide open throttle, and you could have what they call a runaway. Now, it's fine to use this, but the trouble is you put normal AA batteries in there, and you know, they go flat, they don't last particularly long, and they've not got a lot of power. There's not a lot of amperage there, you know what I mean, not a lot of torque, whatever way you want to put it. There's not a lot of go in these batteries. You can buy rechargeable AA batteries. They're about 1.2 volts, slightly less voltage. They last a bit longer in my experience, because I do use rechargeable AA batteries in a lot of things. They're good, but a lot of the time the reasons why your servos may be doing weird things, it's because the batteries is just too low. The voltage is just too low. Put new batteries in it and you may find all your servo problems will be resolved. So what you can do, and one of the best things to do, and I know, by the way, there are many different types of batteries out there. Some people will tell you just to use a LiPo. Funnily enough, there's a LiPo in this truggy right now, but I'm not going to go into LiPos in this video really, because, well, in my opinion, they're for the more advanced person, the person who's a bit more advanced and they know a bit more about the world of RC and particularly Nitro. I'm trying to aim this video at beginners, or at least people who are a bit novice. So I recommend that you don't mess around with any of that kind of thing, because I'll explain briefly why that is. You need to know what your receiver can handle. You need to know what your servos can handle. Now, these days, I will grant you that most receivers and servos can handle up to 7.4 volts, which is a 2S LiPo. However, that may not be the case for what you've got. And if you have got one which can't handle 7.2, it only handles 6 volts or slightly above 6 volts. If you plug a LiPo into it, it'll kill it. Yeah. If it doesn't kill your your receiver first, it will kill your servos as well as your receiver. So just, unless you know, don't buy a LiPo, okay? I'm going to recommend to you as a beginner that you go and get yourself, you can get a LiPo, which I have one over here. Oop. Right, let's move both of these over in the light so we can see them. This is a LiPo pack. Alright, you have to charge it with a special charger. And yeah, a bit more go in it. A bit like a LiPo, but not quite. Alright, it's like in between nickel metal hydride and lipotastic. So you can get one of them if you really want to. This ordinary receivers and servos will be able to take one of these, no trouble at all. But the best thing to do, in my opinion, risk free, and the best thing to do is just to get yourself one of these hump packs. Now there's a lot more oomph in this. It'll have more go. Your servos will be more awake. They'll be a bit quicker. The battery lasts longer, and you can just recharge it. All you got to do is buy yourself a charger, which, excuse the mess, a bit of a mess here, but you can get a charger like that, no trouble at all. Get a wire, and all you got to do is charge it up. And they do batteries nowadays with 2 wires on, so you can leave it in the car and plugged in and use the other one to charge it up. Very, very simple. A lot of the time, the battery is what causes all of the electrical problems. Okay, low voltage in an electrical system can cause many problems. It's like the gremlins have been unleashed, all because of low voltage. Or it might have the correct voltage but low amperage, because the battery's just completely knackered. So before you do anything, I recommend that you make sure your battery is either fully charged and fully operational, or you put a new one in it and test it to see. The amount of times I've had people come to me and say the servos was twitching and they were getting stuck, I put brand new servos in, it still does it. I put a brand new receiver in and it still does it. I say, well, have you changed the battery? They say, no, change the battery. They change the battery, all the problem's gone. So the battery is always the first port of call. So a lot of the other things that I get asked is you might have your steering servo, which works perfectly fine. Your steering is absolutely wonderful, you know, there's nothing wrong with the steering at all. But your throttle and brake servo is a little bit dicky, you know, it kind of don't really do a lot, it's quite weak. You pull the trigger and it slowly just moves around like that and it twitches all the time. And you know, people say to me, well, there can't be anything wrong because I've got a new battery, the receiver seems to be fine, everything does work, but that servo's doing funny things. Well, before you go buying a new servo, just switch the plugs over on the receiver and see whether the other servo now does what that one was doing. if this one becomes a good servo and that one starts doing the funny things, you know that the issue is somewhere else. But if that's a bad servo, doesn't matter what way you plug it in, you could plug the steering in, whatever, this will always be bad. Okay, that's how you can do a little bit of troubleshooting. You can buy servo testers, and I have got one. Where it is a good question. There it is. Now, I don't recommend that you buy this particular one because, well, I think it's not very good. I got this one from eBay probably about 15 years ago, and it does a job where you can plug servos into it. You can plug more than one. You can plug 3 servos into it, and you can move them around, and it tests to see whether the servos work. So that's why I've kept it, because it does work. But the center function, you press that button. What button do you press? That one there. You press that, and it's supposed to center the servo, but it doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't center it. So don't buy this particular one if you see this one, but get another one. A servo tester is a good thing to have because you haven't got to mess around plugging things into receivers and doing all this. You can literally plug a battery into that, plug the servo into that, and away you go. You can test your servos. So yeah, maybe invest in one of them if you're playing around with Nitro often. So I think that's the electrical issue type of thing covered that I normally get asked. Yeah, I don't think I can really cover much else when it comes to electrical problems. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's not a lot to go wrong. There's 2 servos. Sometimes you've got 3, depending if you've got 2 steering ones or not. Yeah, the main issue would be voltages. So check the battery first, and then do a bit of troubleshooting with the servos and things like that. It could be plugs. Always make sure the plugs are clean. You know, you've got these types of plugs on the end of the servos. Make sure they're clean, make sure the wires haven't been nicked or anything like that, burnt, whatever. You know, you have to do a little bit of troubleshooting and just work things out. Sometimes asking, listen, I'm not saying asking questions is bad. I always encourage people to ask me questions. Yeah, ask me questions. Ask anybody questions, because, you know, there's no shame in asking questions. So please keep asking if you're not sure or you want to know how to do something. But the only person really that can find the problem that you've got with your car is you, because you've got it in front of you. Alright? So somebody on the end of a computer somewhere writing back an email can help point you in the right direction, but they can't fix the problem. And I do think sometimes that's what happens. You know, somebody asks a question, you know, this isn't working, why? And they want you to go, this is what you got to do, fix it. It's not always the case, because sometimes things, you know, it might not be obvious, and there's quite a few things that could cause one thing to happen. So your own piece of troubleshooting and physically looking is what you can do, and that's how you learn anyway. Don't forget, that's why you're in the hobby, to physically do stuff and learn. Anyway, so the other thing I always get asked is, when I do the throttle, it pulls the servos, and when I steer, it wants to go too far, and it keeps bending things. Look at that. Now, that's to do with end stops. Not every transmitter has the ability to change or adjust end stops. Now, what an end stop is, it limits the travel on the servo, because sometimes you might not need the whole travel of the servo, because don't forget, the servo spins around in a circle. It doesn't go all the way, but it goes around in a circle. You can limit that by setting an end stop. Now, or end point, end stop, end point. Sometimes people call them different things. On this Futaba radio, it's called end points. And to be honest, I normally call it end points, but I've got into a bit of a habit of calling it an end stop recently. It's slightly annoying. and I've just done it for about 2 minutes talking to you. It's an end point Orinoco. Have you got it? I think I have. Right, okay. Anyway, so you can set them. You can set on this particular one. I mean, you'll have to work out what your radio gear looks like. Some of them, they're a physical dial that you just turn it, simple as that. I prefer them types, and you just turn that and it adjusts your end point. But on some of these digital ones, you physically do it digitally. So left and right, we've got it at 100% at the moment, but we can turn that down, and then when we turn left, it should go. There we go, look, it goes less. And then we can turn it, if I can somehow manage to turn left with one hand and press the up button, it goes more. But that is the full travel of that. So what you need to do, what I recommend doing, is using both hands, turn the steering and turn the end point up until you see it reach the travel. And what you'll see is that the servo will keep going slowly, but then you'll see the steering will stop, and you'll notice the linkages stop, but the servo keeps trying to pull them. That's when you know you're at the limit of where you need to put the end point, and you just go back a little bit, and there you go. That's that completely sorted. Do that for the other side, and do exactly the same for the throttle and the brakes, and that's your end points done. You won't have any more pulling on the brackets, you won't have any more pulling on the linkages. That'll be set up absolutely perfect. Now, I've already got several videos covering how to set up your throttle and brakes so that your brakes don't come on when you do the throttle, and when your throttle doesn't go completely closed when you push the brakes, and your engine conks out and all that stuff. I've got several videos covering that, so I'm not going to cover it in this one. I may do a refresher one of that perhaps, but I don't want to keep going over it. There we go, the failsafe is active. Yeah, I think that's covered a lot of the questions that I've been asked recently. So if you've got any more questions, well, if you've got any questions regarding the whole Nitro car, any questions to do with the engine, anything like that, of course, fire it across and I'll do my best. And the best way to get the answers is to comment on this video or any other video that I do, because then that means other people can also see the comment and they can reply and help you as well. If you send me a private message or an email, you're only getting me, and it might take me a few days to reply. Whereas if you comment, people can comment back and help you immediately. Yes, you've got to filter out the bad answers from the good answers, but that's a part of life anyway. So yeah, ask any questions you want regarding the whole car, but specifically if you've got any questions regarding servos, radios and things like that that are not working properly, please do ask them and I'll do my best, and I'm sure other people will read the comments and do their best as well. We've got a nice little family going on here at the moment on this channel. Just over 10,000 subscribers now, and about 50 channel members on this channel, and we all come together to help everybody. That's the way it is. You get the odd one now and again, but you're going to get that in life. So yeah, hopefully I've answered some of the questions and helped you out. Perhaps you've got an issue that's different to the ones that I've described, but I've managed to point you in the right direction with what I've been talking about, maybe. Anyway, I'll catch you later on. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. The next video that I'm going to make of this particular truggy, by the way, is taking it for a drive after I've put those new servos in and that new radio gear. I've also done a bit of work to the engine as well, so if you want to see this on its test drive after the work that I've done, think about sticking around. I'll be doing that this weekend. Cheerio.